The battlefield was quiet now, but it was not peace. It was the silence that comes after destruction, heavy, broken, and full of ghosts. Smoke floated in the cold air, wrapping around shattered machines and burned ground. The smell of metal and blood mixed together, turning the air bitter. Sergeant Elias Rowan stood in the middle of the ruins, his armor covered with dust and scratches. His pulse was still fast from the fight, but the guns had gone silent. He had fought for 3 long years in the human-Zirathi war. To him, the Zirathi were monsters, cold, brutal, and impossible to understand. They came from the distant stars with ships like black wings and weapons that tore through steel. They had destroyed colonies, killed millions, and forced humans to fight back. Elias had lost friends, brothers, and everything he once loved. Hatred had been his weapon, and revenge had been his food. That was all he knew. But today felt different. Something about the aftermath felt strange. The enemy base had fallen, and the Federation had won. Yet Elias didn't feel victory. He felt tired, empty, and too human for the things he had done. He walked slowly through the broken walls, scanning the wreckage for survivors or wounded soldiers. His boots crunched over glass and ash. The air was thick and silent. Then he saw movement near a fallen transport pod. A figure lay there struggling to get up. Small, slender, covered in silver-gray armor. The armor was cracked, leaking faint blue light from its power veins. Elias instantly aimed his plasma rifle, his heart racing again. "Don't move," he shouted out of habit, though his voice trembled slightly. The figure froze but didn't fight back. Slowly, painfully, it tried to lift a hand as if to show surrender, and then with a faint metallic click, the figure's helmet slipped off and rolled across the dirt until it stopped by Elias's boots. He looked down, and his world changed. The soldier beneath the armor was a woman, but not a human woman. Her face was smooth and strange, yet heartbreakingly beautiful. Her skin glowed softly like moonlight on gold. Her eyes were large and amber, shining with fear and pain. Her silver-white hair fell over her cheeks, dirty and tangled, yet it made her look unreal, like something out of a dream. Elias stood frozen. His gun was still pointed at her, but his finger wouldn't move. She looked up at him, not with hate, not with anger, but with the same expression he had seen on countless human faces during war: exhaustion. She was breathing fast, clutching her chest where her armor had cracked. Her lips trembled as if she wanted to speak but didn't know the words. Elias took a slow step forward. His training screamed inside his head, "She's the enemy. Don't hesitate. Do your job." But his heart refused. For the first time, the enemy didn't look like a monster. She looked alive. "Are you?" he whispered without meaning to. "Are you afraid?" She blinked, confused, maybe understanding his tone more than his words. Then she nodded, a small, fragile movement that made something inside him break. Her hand reached out, shaking toward the ground, not to grab a weapon, but to push herself up. He noticed her wounds then. A burn along her arm, a cut across her cheek. She was bleeding blue, faintly glowing blood dripping onto the soil. He lowered his rifle, slowly, carefully. In the distance, he could still hear the faint hum of approaching Federation drones scanning the field. If they found her, they'd kill her instantly. A Zirathi soldier, even a wounded one, meant execution. No exceptions. Elias's heart pounded in his chest. Logic told him to walk away. Orders told him to finish her. But when he looked at her trembling, glowing hand, when he saw the way her eyes searched his face for mercy, something inside him made its choice. He reached out and touched her arm gently. She flinched, but he whispered, "It's okay. I won't hurt you." She looked at him. Really looked. And for a moment it felt like time stopped. The sound of fire faded. The world became still, and in that moment, Elias Rowan, a soldier sworn to obey the law, a man who once believed that aliens had no soul, decided something impossible. He decided he wouldn't let her die. He decided to protect her, no matter the cost. He decided that even if the whole universe called it treason, he would stand against it, because when her helmet dropped and he saw her face, he realized something that no war could destroy. She was not his enemy. She was his destiny. Elias moved fast. The drones were coming closer, their red lights cutting through the smoky air. The wounded alien woman, her breathing shallow, her eyes half closed, tried to rise but stumbled. He caught her before she hit the ground. Her body was cold to the touch, lighter than he expected, almost fragile. He could feel her trembling beneath the damaged armor. "Stay quiet," he whispered, glancing toward the sky. "I'm getting you out of here." She didn't respond, but her golden eyes flickered with a faint trust. That was enough for him. He lifted her into his arms and started moving through the ruins. His armor groaned under her weight, and every step sent pain through his wounded leg, but he didn't stop. The sound of the drones grew louder. Elias ducked behind a broken wall, hiding them both under the shadow of burning debris. 2 machines flew overhead, scanning the area with sharp beams of red light. His heart thudded so loud he feared they would hear it. He pressed her close to his chest, feeling her cold breath against his armor. For the first time in years, Elias was not thinking about duty. He was thinking about someone who needed him. When the drones passed, he carried her toward an old bunker, a forgotten outpost buried in rock. He had found it weeks ago during a patrol, abandoned and sealed off. No one would think to look there. It took effort to open the rusted hatch, but once they slipped inside, the darkness wrapped around them like safety. He laid her down on an old cot and knelt beside her. Her wounds looked bad. The glowing blue blood had soaked through her armor. He found a small med kit and tried to clean the cuts. She flinched at first, but didn't push him away. Her skin felt warm where it touched his gloves. He didn't know much about alien biology, but he did what he could. He bandaged her wounds and gave her a few drops of water. She blinked slowly, her voice barely a whisper, soft and musical. "Why?" Elias looked at her, confused. "Why what?" "Why save me?" she asked, her accent strange but gentle. "I am your enemy." Elias stared at her for a moment. The question burned in his mind, too. Why had he done this? Why risk his life, his career, his future, for her? He didn't have an answer. "I don't know," he admitted finally. "Maybe because I couldn't let you die. Not like that." She watched him quietly, as if trying to see the truth in his eyes. For a long moment they said nothing. The silence between them was not awkward. It was heavy, full of things that neither of them could explain. After a while, Elias took off his helmet, revealing his tired face. His dark hair was messy, his eyes lined with exhaustion. "My name's Elias," he said softly. "Sergeant Elias Rowan, Earth Federation Army." The alien woman hesitated, then whispered, "Liara." Her name hung in the air, light and beautiful. He repeated it quietly, almost afraid to break the sound. "Liara?" She gave a faint nod and looked away, her eyes filling with a sadness he couldn't understand. "If they find you with me," she said, "they will kill you." He smiled faintly, though there was no humor in it. "They'll have to catch me first." Liara blinked, confused by his calmness. "You would break your log for me?" Elias looked at her, at the strange glow of her eyes, at the soft shimmer of her golden skin. And he felt something shift inside him, something dangerous and beautiful. "I already did," he said simply. She looked at him for a long time, and then for the first time she smiled. A small, weak smile that made the entire bunker feel less cold. Outside, the war still raged. The humans would soon sweep the area. He knew he couldn't stay there for long, but for that one night they were safe. He gave her his jacket to keep her warm and sat beside her until she fell asleep. The dim blue glow from her blood painted his face in soft light. He watched her breathe, feeling a strange peace that he hadn't known in years. For the first time since the war began, Elias wasn't thinking about enemies or victories. He was thinking about a single person, someone he wasn't supposed to care about. He leaned back against the cold wall and whispered to himself, "What are you doing, Elias?" But his heart already knew the answer. He was protecting something pure in a world that had forgotten purity. And deep inside, he knew this wasn't just about mercy anymore. It was something far greater. Something that would soon make him choose between love and the laws of mankind. The night was heavy and quiet, but Elias knew they couldn't stay. The Federation drones would sweep the area soon, searching for survivors. If they found Liara, she would die. If they found him, he would be executed for treason. But leaving her behind was not an option. He helped her to her feet. Her wounds were bandaged, but she still leaned on him for support. Elias carried her supplies, and together they slipped out of the hidden bunker into the dark, broken forest beyond. The smoke from the battlefield had settled into a low fog, giving them cover, but it made every step uncertain. Liara shivered. Elias gave her his jacket again, pulling her close. "We're not far," he whispered. "Just a little further and we'll be safe for now." Her voice trembled as she asked, "Safe? From them?" "Yes," he said. "I'll make sure no one touches you." For a long while they walked in silence, moving carefully around broken machinery and fallen trees. Liara's small hand occasionally brushed against his arm, and Elias felt warmth he hadn't felt in years. There was fear in her eyes, yes, but also curiosity. She was learning quickly how humans thought, how we moved, and most importantly, she was learning to trust him. When they reached the edge of a ruined settlement, they paused. The horizon glowed faintly with fires from the battle, but here the destruction was quieter. Elias crouched beside her and checked their surroundings. "We can rest for a while," he said. "I know a place not far from here, an old maintenance tunnel. No one will find us there tonight." Liara nodded silently, her golden eyes scanning the area. There was still tension in her body, but Elias could see that the slightest feeling of safety had begun to relax her. As they moved through the settlement, Elias kept thinking about her face when the helmet fell. That image had burned into him. Every time he saw her struggle or wince, he felt a fierce desire to protect her. It wasn't just compassion anymore, and it was something deeper, something dangerous. They reached the tunnel entrance, hidden beneath a pile of rubble. Elias lifted her gently and guided her inside. The tunnel was dark, damp, and long forgotten, but it would do. She sat down, exhaustion making her knees shake. Elias knelt beside her and offered her water. She took it with trembling hands, her glowing lips parting slightly as she drank. "I never thought humans would," she began, her voice low and uncertain. He smiled faintly, brushing a strand of silver hair from her face. "I guess I never thought I'd care about an enemy either," he said. She looked at him, confused. Why do you care?" Elias hesitated. He wanted to say the truth, that he didn't just care, that he couldn't imagine letting her die, that he felt something that scared him but thrilled him at the same time. But words failed him. Instead, he simply said, "Because you're here, and I can't leave you." Liara's gaze softened. She reached out, her fingers brushing his arm. It was a small gesture, but it meant everything. Elias felt a shiver run down his spine. He realized then that saving her was no longer a choice. It was his life's purpose. They sat in silence for a while, listening to the faint hum of distant drones and the crackle of fires. Outside, the world was chaos. Inside the tunnel, there was a fragile peace. Elias studied her face in the dim light. Liara was not just beautiful, she was strong, even in her fear. He wanted to know everything about her world, her thoughts, her dreams. And he wanted to protect her from a universe that would never forgive them for being together. After some time, Elias stood. "We should move before dawn," he said. Liara nodded, getting up slowly. Elias supported her as they walked deeper into the tunnels. Each step was careful, deliberate. Every shadow could hide danger, but Elias didn't care. He would face any risk to keep her alive. As they paused in a narrow chamber, Liara looked at him, her amber eyes wide. "I don't understand humans," she whispered. "I don't understand how you can feel so much for me." Elias felt his chest tighten. "Maybe it doesn't make sense," he said softly. "But some things don't need to make sense. Some things just are." Liara studied him for a long moment, then leaned slightly closer. Elias felt a rush of warmth, a spark he could not deny. It was dangerous, yes, forbidden by every law, condemned by every code. Yet in that moment nothing mattered but the truth between them. And for the first time, Elias realized the battle he had been fighting for years. The war against the Zirathi, the war for survival, was nothing compared to the war he was now willing to fight for her heart. The tunnel was quiet except for the faint drip of water from the ceiling. Elias and Liara had moved deeper inside, seeking a place where no human patrol could find them. The air was cold and damp, and the walls pressed in like the weight of the world. Yet inside that darkness there was a strange kind of peace. Liara sat on a stone ledge, her silver hair falling over her shoulders. She watched Elias carefully as he checked their surroundings. The bandages on her arm were still tight, and her breaths were slow but uneven. He knelt beside her, adjusting the jacket he had given her to keep her warm. "You are different from what I imagined," Liara said softly. "All humans think of Zirathi as monsters." "But you see me." Elias met her gaze. His chest felt tight. He had no words at first. How could he explain what she had done to him? How her helmet falling, the soft fear in her eyes, had changed everything he thought he knew about loyalty, duty, and love. "I don't know why I see you like this," he admitted. "Maybe it's because you are not what I expected. Maybe it's because I can't ignore you." "I can't let you go." Liara's golden eyes widened. "You care for me? Even after all the war, all the death?" Elias swallowed hard. "I care more than I should. I care more than I am allowed." He looked away for a moment, ashamed of the truth. I think I'm falling in love with you." The words hung between them, heavier than the stone walls. Liara's lips trembled as she whispered, "Love? For me?" "Yes," he said, his voice soft but firm. "I know it's impossible. I know the Federation would call it treason. But I don't care. I can't care. When I saw you, really saw you, I knew I would do anything to protect you, even if it means breaking every law I've ever sworn to follow." Liara stared at him in silence, her mind racing. Her heart felt the same pull she saw in his eyes, the same fire he could not hide. She reached out and touched his hand lightly. "Elias, this is dangerous. You could be killed. I could be killed. Are you sure?" Elias held her hand firmly as if drawing strength from her touch. "I am sure," he said. "I don't care about the rules. I don't care about the laws. I care about you. And I will fight for you every day for the rest of my life if I have to." Liara's eyes glistened with tears, her chest heaving. She had seen humans hate, humans fight, humans destroy entire worlds without mercy. Yet here was one, just one, who chose her life over obedience, who chose love over fear. It was more than she had ever imagined. "I don't know if I can trust this world," she said quietly. "I don't know if I can survive it with you." "You don't have to survive it alone," Elias said, brushing a strand of her hair away from her face. "I will be with you. Always. I don't care what happens outside this tunnel. I don't care who hunts us. We'll face it together." Liara's fingers trembled as she held his hand tighter. The warmth of his touch, the softness in his voice, it all melted the walls she had built around her heart. For the first time, she felt something that humans called hope. I think I feel the same," she whispered, her voice breaking slightly. "Even if it's impossible, I think I love you too." Elias's heart surged like never before. He leaned closer, careful not to scare her, and whispered, "Then we fight. Together. No one can take this away from us. Not the law, not the war, nothing." For the first time since the war began, Liara allowed herself to believe. She leaned slightly into him, feeling his presence, his warmth, and the fierce determination that had saved her life. In the darkness of that forgotten tunnel, two enemies had become something more. Allies, friends, and now, something far deeper. Outside, the world waited with danger, war, and judgment. But inside there was only the truth of their hearts and a promise neither of them would break. Elias whispered again, almost to himself, "No law, no army, no world could ever make me let you go." Liara smiled through her tears, and in that quiet, fragile moment, the impossible became real. They were no longer soldier and alien. They were two hearts defying a universe that said they could never be together. And that was only the beginning. Dawn was breaking when Elias and Liara emerged from the tunnels. The sky was painted in shades of orange and purple, but there was no time to admire the beauty. The world outside was still dangerous, and the Federation would not let Liara live, not if they discovered her alive. Elias kept her close as they moved quietly through the ruined landscape. Every shadow, every sound made her flinch. Elias could feel her fear like a living thing pressing against his chest. He brushed a hand through her hair and whispered, "We're almost safe. Just a little further." Liara's golden eyes looked at him, wide and uncertain. "What if they find us?" she asked. "What if they come?" Elias shook his head firmly. "Then we run faster. We fight if we have to. But I won't let them take you." They crossed the scarred fields where battle had left craters and twisted metal. Elias remembered each skirmish that had taken his friends, his brothers. But now he didn't think about revenge. He only thought about her, fragile in his arms, alive because of him. Hours passed, and the silence was broken only by the distant hum of drones and the wind brushing against broken buildings. Suddenly, a bright light cut through the fog. A search team. Red flares and the roar of engines made Elias press Liara behind a fallen wall. "They're close," he whispered. "Stay quiet. Don't move." Liara's hand trembled in his. Elias felt a pang of anger. All his life he had followed orders, obeyed laws, fought battles he didn't question. But now the law was nothing. His heart was nothing. Only Liara mattered. The drones hovered closer, scanning the wreckage. Elias held his breath, counting the seconds. Liara's head rested against his chest, her eyes closed, trusting him completely. And in that moment he realized something terrifying and beautiful. He would defy everything, every rule, every command, every expectation, just to protect her. The search team moved past them, unaware of the two fugitives hiding in the shadows. And the danger had passed, Elias exhaled quietly. Liara opened her eyes and he saw the relief and gratitude in them. "Thank you," she whispered. "No," he said softly. "I don't want thanks. I just want you to live. That's all that matters." They kept moving, using the ruined buildings for cover. The terrain was difficult, full of craters and rubble. Elias carried her over some of the rougher spots and Liara clung to him. Her trust absolute. It made his chest ache. Not with fear, not with anger, but with love so deep it scared him. As they ran, they shared quiet moments. Liara spoke of her homeworld, of the forests where the light shimmered differently, of rivers that glowed at night. Elias listened, fascinated. He had never known such beauty existed beyond Earth, and he felt lucky. Lucky that someone so extraordinary had chosen to trust him. Finally, as dusk approached, they reached a narrow canyon. Elias led them through a hidden path, hoping it would put enough distance between them and the Federation. They stopped to rest near a small stream. Liara sat on a rock, her feet dangling in the water, while Elias kept watch. "You could leave me," she said softly. "You don't have to keep risking yourself." Elias shook his head, sitting beside her. He took her hand in his. "No," he said. "I could never leave you. Not now, not ever. You're not just my mission, Liara. You're everything." Her eyes glistened with tears. She had known fear, loss, and betrayal. But in him she found something rare. Devotion without hesitation. I feel the same," she whispered. "Even if the world hates it, even if it's impossible. I love you." Elias's chest tightened. The weight of the law, the war, the universe, none of it mattered. Only her voice, only her presence, only the truth between them. "Then we face everything together," he said. "No law, no army, no danger can separate us." Liara leaned into him, resting her head on his shoulder. For a moment, the world outside the canyon did not exist. There was no war, no patrols, no law. Only them, fighting for a love the universe had tried to forbid. But as the sun set, painting the canyon walls red, Elias knew the chase was far from over. The Federation would not give up, and neither would the shadows of war. They had escaped today, but tomorrow would bring new dangers. Yet for the first time in his life, Elias was not afraid of the future. Because whatever came, he would face it with her. Every battle, every law, every impossible challenge, he would defy it all. For the woman who had stolen his heart the moment her helmet fell, and Liara, for the first time in centuries, allowed herself to believe that love could survive even the darkest of wars. The sun rose pale and cold, casting long shadows over the jagged canyon. Elias and Liara had been on the move all night, but the patrols were relentless. Every sound made them jump. Every flicker of light made them freeze. They were fugitives now, hunted by the very people Elias had once sworn to protect. Liara walked beside him, her steps careful. Her wounds had healed a little, but exhaustion showed in her golden eyes. Elias kept one hand on the small of her back, guiding her through the rough terrain. He felt the weight of responsibility pressing on him, but it was nothing compared to the weight of love he felt for her. Suddenly, a loud roar echoed from the canyon walls. Drones descended from the sky, red lights sweeping over the rocks. Elias grabbed Liara and pulled her behind a large boulder. "They found us," he whispered, his jaw tight. Her eyes were wide, fear mixing with determination. "What do we do?" Elias didn't hesitate. "We stand. No running this time. If they want us, they'll have to face both of us." Liara nodded slowly. She had always been trained to fight, but never with a human. And yet she trusted him completely. The bond between them was no longer fragile. It was steel, forged in shared danger and desperate care. The drones circled above, scanning the canyon. Suddenly, a voice boomed over a loudspeaker. "Elias Rowan! Surrender the Zarathi fugitive. Resistance will be met with lethal force." Elias clenched his fists. He glanced at Liara. She looked back at him, her amber eyes steady. In that moment, he realized the truth he had always known but never fully faced. He would defy every law, break every rule, and risk everything to protect her. Together? He whispered. Liara gave a faint smile. Together. They moved from behind the boulder, stepping into the open canyon. Elias held his rifle ready, but Liara raised her hands, her own alien energy beginning to glow faintly. She was not unarmed. She could fight. But Elias wanted more than to win. He wanted them to survive together. The drones fired first, and the canyon erupted in noise. Elias dived to the side, dragging Liara with him. Sparks flew as plasma beams hit the rocks around them. She fired back with strange blue energy that sizzled through the air. Elias covered her as they ran toward a narrow passage between cliffs. Despite the chaos, Elias felt something incredible. A rush of life, a certainty he had never known. He wasn't just fighting for survival. He was fighting for love, and for Liara he would stand against the whole world. They reached a ledge overlooking the canyon floor. Drones swarmed below. Elias took a deep breath. "We can't outrun them," he said. "We have to make them stop chasing us." Liara's eyes glowed brighter. "Then we fight," she said. "No holding back." Side by side, human and alien, soldier and fugitive, they prepared for the final stand. Elias felt the weight of law, duty, and fear wash away. All that mattered was her, the warmth of her hand in his, the trust in her gaze. The drones attacked in waves. Liara's energy surged, cutting through them with blinding light. Elias fired his rifle with precision, each shot protecting her, each moment a promise. The canyon shook and the air sizzled with danger. Yet neither of them faltered. Time seemed to stretch. Fear was there, yes, but so was a strange clarity. Elias knew now that love was stronger than any law, stronger than any army. Every beam they dodged, every shot they returned, cemented the bond that had started the moment her helmet fell. Finally, the drones faltered, their numbers diminished. Silence returned, broken only by their heavy breathing. Elias and Liara stood on the ledge, bruised, exhausted, but alive. They looked at each other, and no words were needed. Their hearts spoke for them. Elias reached for her hand. "We survived," he said softly. Liara smiled, leaning her head against his shoulder. "Because we are together," she whispered. And in that quiet moment, with danger behind them but still looming, Elias realized the truth. No law, no army, no universe could ever take this from him. She was his, and not because of force, but because of love. And he would fight for her until his last breath, defying every rule the world tried to impose. For the first time in his life, Elias felt truly free. Not free from war, not free from danger, but free in love. Free in heart and free in soul, and Liara, once a stranger from the stars, now his partner in life and war, smiled knowing the impossible had become real. They had won this battle, not just against the drones, but against the universe itself. War was over, but not really. The Federation still hunted them, calling Liara an enemy and Elias a traitor. They had escaped the drones, survived the canyon, and evaded patrols, but the shadow of danger was always close. Yet for the first time, Elias felt something stronger than fear, certainty. He looked at Liara as they rested in a hidden valley far from the battlefield. Her silver hair shimmered in the sunlight, and her amber eyes reflected hope and trust. Elias felt a swell in his chest, a warmth that no law, no order, no army could take away. She was alive. She was with him. And that was all that mattered. Liara turned to him, her expression soft but serious. "Elias, we can't hide forever. They will come. The humans, they will come." Elias nodded. "I know, but hiding is not living, and I don't want to live without you." He took her hands in his. Her skin was warm, glowing faintly, a reminder of everything that made her extraordinary. Liara's eyes widened. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying, we face this together. All of it. Every law, every order, every person who tries to stop us. I don't care what the Federation says. I don't care about the world. I care about you, and I want to spend my life with you." Liara's chest rose and fell quickly. "Elias, you would defy everything." "For me?" "Yes," he said firmly. "For you, I would defy every law. I would stand against the universe itself if I had to. Because when I saw your face that day, when your helmet dropped, I realized something I cannot ignore. You are not my enemy. You are my life, my heart, my destiny, Tears formed in her eyes, golden and bright, shimmering in the sunlight. "I thought love between us was impossible," she whispered. "I thought the world would never allow it." Elias shook his head, a soft smile touching his lips. "Then the world is wrong, and we are right." For a long moment they just looked at each other, the weight of their journey and the danger they had faced pressing around them. But in that gaze they found freedom. Not the freedom of escape, not the freedom of war won, but the freedom of choosing each other, regardless of what the world demanded. Liara finally leaned into him, resting her head against his shoulder. "If we do this," she said softly, "there is no turning back. The Federation will hunt us, maybe forever. Are you ready?" Elias tightened his arms around her.
"I am ready."
"I choose you. Today, tomorrow, always." They stayed there for a while, the valley quiet except for the soft wind and distant birds, and then, in a moment that felt like eternity, they kissed. Not as enemies, not as soldier and alien, but as two hearts claim.